We have a guest in the studio today, so we're going to be talking about his book. If you've been paying attention to what we posted on social media, it is Samuel Archer. He is a multifaceted musician, producer. There's a whole bunch of stuff that he does, but basically he's also a new author, and he wrote a book called The Hybrid Executive, which is kind of discussing the new roles and responsibilities for today's indie artist. So it's going to be a really great conversation, so I hope you guys stick around until 7 o'clock when we have that conversation with Samuel Archer. So he's actually in the studio right now, but I'm going to give him a little reprieve until 7 o'clock before I just have him all up in the business. But if you hear what I'm saying to him, then it doesn't matter anyway. So hey, what's up everybody? This is The Get Down. I am your host, Shaunie Walker, and right now we are going to have a nice conversation with celebrated songwriter, arranger, music producer, record engineer, filmmaker, and now author, Samuel Archer. Welcome, Mr. Archer.
Hi.
Well, I'm going to call you Samuel. I ain't going to start that off.
You can mix it up. Sam, Samuel. In the Caribbean, they say Sammy.
Sammy.
Hi, Sammy.
All right, so you're clearly from the Caribbean. Mount Pleasant?
Caribbean roots, yes. Mount Pleasant, Tobago.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long did you live there before you came here?
Let's say I relocated here around the age of 18.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 1988, around
Okay.
there. And so I spent my formative years there. But
So you came here because of family, or was it you were ready to pursue your career in music?
it was time to go to college.
Okay.
So I went to New York City Tech
Okay.
in downtown Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
And actually there I met a couple of people that it's a cool, you asked a really cool question. I never thought about that. But going to New York City Tech, I met a couple of people that I'm actually still friends with today that are actually in the industry.
Okay.
And not too far from the school, there was a studio. What was that brother's name? I think his name was Teddy.
Mm-hmm.
He had a studio like about a block or two. This is before you had Metro One. You know Brooklyn a little bit?
Not really.
You don't know? Okay. So there was sort of like a residential area in the downtown area, and then somehow there was a big fire. I don't know who put that, But now we have an area called Metro One, which used to be part of Manhattan, and they brought it up to downtown Brooklyn.
Okay.
So that area is kind of like built up. So Teddy had a studio around there, recording and rehearsal studio. We would go and go. We had a band at Tech, New York City Tech. We had a band, and so we would go there and rehearse. We got close with the engineer, and the engineer introduced me to Al Richburg, who eventually was in Trackmasters, and there was whole other, there was a whole other streamliner connects. Through that, I met people like Mona Scott, and it was just it was a whole other thing. But New York City Tech was kind of like that place. Like one of the areas that I was able to make connections and meet people and do as if I wanted to do a degree.
So then, where did Full Sail University come in?
Well, that kind of came in later on. I actually did that in 2010.
Okay.
So we're talking New York City Tech around '89.
Mm-hmm.
And then
so it's another 20 plus years.
18 years later.
Mm-hmm.
2 years prior before that, I was in Tobago at my alma mater teaching.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of the teachers down there. And one of my students had the handbook for Full Sail. And she was, interested in doing this. And her mom was, they call me Mr. Archer or Sir Archer. Well, let Sir Archer take a look at the pamphlet, So Sir Archer takes a look at the pamphlet, and I told her it seemed solid. I went online and saw that it was an existing school, and I told her it was a good situation, and then I forgot about it. This is 2007 maybe, or 2008, and then when I in 2010. I needed to kind of get back into school. So I think the teaching and being around teachers, and I was like, I just did my associates. I really need to do something educational with my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got back in the summer of 2009, I think, I started looking at online schools, and then Full Sail was just one of those schools that I thought, if I'm going to do it again, I'll do something that I want to do.
Yeah.
And because I could have gone to Kaplan or the other online
there's other
things,
ones,
and then I would have probably done psychology or education, and I was like, I didn't want to do nothing like that. I wanted to do something that I would be passionate about.
Yeah.
So Full Sail was that school to get that going.
So I'm holding, everybody that obviously can't see me, I'm holding your new book, The Hybrid Executive. And what inspired you to write this?
So the story behind that is interesting, because what you hold in your hand started around 92, somewhere like
Really?
92. Yeah, so relocating in 88, there was this gospel community in Brooklyn and Queens, and there's like a lot of groups. Let me see who was kind of hot back then. You had Timothy Wright, you had Hezekiah Walker. You had.
I grew up in Hezekiah.
You grew up in Hezekiah,
Yeah.
okay. Then you had the Commission and the Winans, and so a lot of these groups were coming to New York so New York had this gospel thing going on. Everyone was just excited, and there was another gentleman from Tobago. His name is Terrence Russell.
Okay.
And so we kind of teamed up and started performing around New York. So of course we had an accent issue when we sang at these churches. It sounded good in the Caribbean, but here it sounded really funny. So it's like you're singing a Christian contemporary song, and it's like
sounds like you're supposed to be doing a butterfly.
They're from the Caribbean now. So it took us a little minute to catch that. I didn't really have it too bad, in terms of the singing. But he's really good. I mean, he's still here, and he's one of the best voices I know. And so anyway, we did this single. We did 2 songs, which was actually engineered by Al Richburg again.
Okay.
I crossed paths with him, and then we put this single out. And a cassette. Well, you remember what a cassette is?
Yeah.
It was a cassette with.
Yeah, I have my own.
You have yours.
Yeah.
So at the time we did it, it was kind of like a new thing. We did a single, and it was like the O card, and so it was like, wow, we did this thing, and then I mailed it out to WWRL, which was a gospel station at the time, and about a month later, I got a call from Van J, who was the music director at the time, or the music program guy. And so he goes, have you been listening to the radio station? And I said, yeah. It says you're in rotation. Congratulations. Click. I could even say thank you, and it was click. Oh, okay. So we had this song called Do You Love Me? That it really was in rotation. And so a lot of the groups around the time, they're like, yo, you guys did all of this. It was kind of like, it wasn't a hate thing though. It was just like they were really, we were all, doing the gospel situation. So I started consulting. Like I would just have people calling me, hey, I have this group, we're doing this, we're in the studio. And of course, technology is not where it is now.
Yeah,
so we were doing 2-inch reel-to-reel, and who had 4 tracks and who had this.
Yeah.
It was, so you had a lot of these folks that were, and really good material. And so it was just sharing information. And I said, after a while, I said, I need to put a little brochure together. So it was supposed to be like a brochure. And I started putting down stuff.
All right, and then 100 and some odd, 70 some odd pages later, you realize this is not going to fit on a paper.
No. Well, actually, back then, I was like, and I forgot I need to add, so I started adding more. They need to know this. And I had this typewriter.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God, the electronic ones. Click, click. I was
Wow.
this is not going to work. But I did, but it started around there.
Okay,
And
so
over
you've just been, over the years, as the industry's changed, have just been kind of updating and adding
correct
to what was supposed to be a pamphlet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, guys, for those of you who don't know, the Hybrid Executive is a book for anyone who has a hope or dream of making it in the music business, because they must either adjust to the change or pack up and quit.
That's right.
So, I've actually kind of, as you can tell, like I said,
I see. I'm inspired. You're inspiring me here.
Well, I mean, like, I like to be informed.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to have a good conversation with you. So,
yeah. Amen.
All right. So, with various, this is obviously where we're going to segue into you telling me a little bit more about your experience in the music industry as a musician. So, with various areas of music included in my degree, you said such as product development, copyright, publishing, artist and repertoire, marketing, distribution, etc. I couldn't just pick one. So, you started out coming into New York and doing this gospel thing, and then you segued into what next? What came after that?
Well, I was directing choirs. There were other groups that were trying to get something done. It was like, we could get like 3 songs together, and we have a connect at MCA, or we have a connect at Sony. So it was doing demos, going to studios, recording, doing shows, concerts. And then I did have a spiritual thing at the time, so being in church, I kind of had to battle the secular and the gospel thing, and I had a little battle there, and I kind of grew up SDA, so we had the sunset thing, and
oh wow,
and it was you're kind of like mixed up, like well,
I mean I get it, because I mean, like I said, I was raised like fairly strictly Christian.
Oh.
So, I mean, we snuck and listened to secular music, which is probably why we got beat. But, because spare the rod, spoil the child.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
But, so I understand. the confines of religion when it comes to, or, and the strain on your conscience. Of, oh God, am I going to hell? I want to talk about making love to this woman, but is this mental fornication?
You're familiar with the
I'm very aware. Listen, I'm very aware.
It was funny. Part of the turning point was in, I think it was still like 89, because I play keyboards. So that's why a lot of people know me as a musician, playing keyboards and so on. And I had a cousin that had a friend that was working with, who was the guys who did Roxanne originally? Kangol and...
who is that? UTFO?
That's right, UTFO. So, wow, I got a brain freeze there. So, a cousin of mine, he knew a young lady that was working with Kangol, and she needed a producer. And so he put me on to the situation, and so I'm still in this whole religious cloud thing. And it didn't work out, so he kind of reprimanded me a little bit. He was like, I think if you're going to do something, you got to do it, and he kind of had to talk. I mean, it didn't turn everything right away, but it was kind of like a starting, point for me to actually start looking at what I'm actually doing, logically, like, wow. I kind of got my cousin pissed off at me, because he forwarded me this situation, which was kind of good. And there were other situations that I kind of threw away over the years, and it was rough.
But I mean, in the end, you ended up working with some great names, some B2K, Horace Brown, 112.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and that's just to name a few. So you've contributed, it says you've contributed to TV shows, Dr. 90210, the Janice Dickinson Modeling Agency, among many others. Scored for films such as The Lockdown Club, All I Want, Moving In, On the Road to Love, Pain, and Redemption. That sounds familiar. Is that Nadira Noor Jahan?
That is Nadira Noor Jahan. Yeah, we did like a documentary film. Oh, you've been studying. Okay.
I remember. I pay attention.
Yeah, we when she did the what did she do? She did a single. A double A side, and then we had so much. I had this
feedback.
Well, I had a lot of footage, and we were like, okay, we did the video, but we wanted to do like little clips leading up to the release of the video.
Okay.
And there was so much footage, and I was like, wow, we need to do something with this. So we did this little low grade documentary style type of a project. So that's the film. So I kind of did it and scored it, and as a cool project.
So are you? Have you just switched completely over? Are you still in music? Are you still?
I'm still.
I know you're doing you do production. You're doing. Is that production? You're.
Yeah, I still do production.
But So yeah, you're still. I've just lost my train of thought just that quick. But I was asking basically about the production. I didn't know if that's what you were doing with artists like Nadira.
I'm still
creating.
Producing, not as much as I should, but yes, I'm still producing. It's just that of late, this was just taking so long that I had to kind of detour and. But composing is still part of the process.
Yeah.
I'm still writing, still composing, still producing. My phone isn't ringing off the hook as it used to.
No.
Most of the clientele I had were based in New York, and then I moved from New York, so that kind of affected the workflow a little bit.
So tell me about what the hybrid executive is.
Okay. So it was a name. Are we talking about just the book in general or just the title?
What the title is.
Okay.
We'll go into the book a little bit more, but I want people to understand what you mean by that term.
Okay. Hybrid is kind of like that next thing, So if you have a pen, this is a pen, but
yeah, like fusion, like a mixologist.
Now the pen can take. You can check your email with the pen.
Right. You can take photos and edit and,
You can. You change your outfit. With the pen. So it's sort of like it's a derivative of what was there before, but it's kind of new and improved.
Okay.
And so that concept is what. I thought, okay, if I add that to executive, and you might have been part of the school or the train of thought or the culture where we would call A&Rs and CEOs, right? We would call them execs.
Yeah.
We have a meeting with an exec. Remember there was a time.
Yeah, I remember.
Right, so we would use that term a lot. So I said, okay, well, the artists no longer could just stay within the confines of writing and producing their stuff and just turning it into the record label. And now the artist has to write it, put it together, package it, market it, get it out there. They got to do the sales and the groundwork. So that creates the hybrid aspect of the artist. So they're moving from what they're traditionally known for, and now they're coming into the market where they have to pretty much do everything.
Okay.
So that's kind of like the concept of the title.
Okay. All right. So just basically meaning that they need to be able to understand all areas of.
Yeah. So like you're a hybrid executive, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes. Yeah. I mean, but I think that my opinion of the hybrid executive is because I'm in different areas, not just in music. I mean, you know, I deal with radio. I have, you know, my web design company. You know, so that's what I mean. Like when I think hybrid, it's like I'm thinking like a fusion of all of these different things.
Yeah,
I mean, it still does mean the same thing, but I'm kind of crossing professions, basically. You know.
Well, yeah, you gotta eat as you go. I mean.
Well, of course.
You gotta eat as you go. But yeah, you're in a sense. You have to, well, because we have the aspect of creating streams of income today. You know, that's sort of like a other thing that we've had to adopt to. I guess in the last 10 years, we had to adapt to other streams of income and other, you know, you're doing other things. So
I feel like especially
things,
in the last 5 years, I mean, and probably more so because I've been paying more attention to it. I feel that I see a lot more small businesses, a lot more entrepreneurs, you know, home-based businesses being started. So
the market has changed,
changing,
and it changed the music industry too. I mean, everything changed. The film industry, the book. I mean, we had a lot of bookstores back. I mean,
we did, yes.
We just have
and now we all have Barnes and Nobles. It used to be some other Bolden books. That's what it was.
Border books. There were a lot of African American bookstores around.
Yeah. And now everything's a monopoly.
Yeah, it's kind of, you know.
It's just bought out the mom and pops or the smaller ones that created some sort of diversity. Some other options, better yet.
Technology changed and some of us are holding on to, keep it. The rest are like, no.
Yeah, let me get this debt.
Yeah, that. I remember that. Yeah. That was, you know, so everything got affected, so then it affects the artist. I mean, who is going to try to say, well, let me do 4 songs and submit it to a label now? I mean,
right.
Do they still have a mailing room now, you know?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I would think that they do to some extent. They gotta... They're still releasing. I mean, like, there's still artists that are still signed to them. I mean, I don't know how great those deals are, but, you know, but I still feel like I'm seeing other people... I mean, I want to say Jay-Z, but at the same time, he did start out. You know what I mean? I think his career has allowed him the opportunity to be in something that is somewhat more technically, regardless of how much money is behind it, technically independent. You know, but yeah, that took time for him to be able to get to that point. But they still exist, but you know. But
it's small. It's really small.
Yeah, in comparison. You say in your book that one of the people that you admired, or one of the people that you viewed as one of the first hybrid executives, is Michael Bivins. So
yeah, Michael Bivins. Well, I wouldn't say he was the first.
Yeah, no, because I gotta tell you, I was looking at it and I saw you said that it paved the way for people like, you know, Chris Lighty, Queen Latifah, Darren and Joaquin Dean and Teddy Riley, and I was like, whoa, no, Teddy came first. And then I started doing all of, no, I did my work.
I see.
I read them in the fold. So Teddy, okay, no, we're going to go through this. All right, so Bell Biv DeVoe, technically speaking, he wasn't a hybrid executive until the real creation of Bell Biv DeVoe. I mean, he was doing a little something with New Edition, but he was essentially...
You know, okay, in defense of Michael Bivins.
Okay.
When he started the East Coast Family thing, you remember that?
Yes, Bell Biv DeVoe, another bad creation. Go ahead.
Okay, now Bell Biv DeVoe was a little different. That was the New Edition spinoff.
Right.
But he started this East Coast Family thing, which was kind of like outside of it. Mm-hmm. So he started like a management, and then he did Voice to Men, and he did ABC, and you know, so he started this whole like a clique, you know, a clique of artists, but it was like a management thing initially for him. So, in a sense, he was kind of like the first in that time
In that time.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
again, Teddy Riley. He has been since 1987. All of the East Coast family was not until after Belle Biv DeVoe, which was not until 1993. So Guy was 1987. Teddy Riley first started production, not just as part of the group. He started production with Timmy Gatling with 1987 with Guy. He did Just Got Paid with Johnny Kemp 1988. My Prerogative with Bobby Brown. I worked with Big Daddy Kane. Then he worked with the Jacksons, he worked with the Winans. He went to Blackstreet in 91, Rex and Effect in 92, and that was still before Belle Biv DeVoe.
I agree. I'm not okay. He's a producer.
Okay.
But he didn't.
But he created the New Jack Swing, which was a lot of what the East Coast family's music was based off of.
I'm not doubting that. I'm not doubting that. But what I'm saying is, Teddy at the time, Teddy didn't come and say, okay, let me take Rex and Effects, Guy, Blackstreet, Johnny Camp. What was the girl he did the remix for? That was a hot remix. What was it? Yeah. It's like he was killing it, but he didn't do like what Bivens did, where he actually presented and said, "This is the East Coast family." And then after him, I think it might have been Puff. That Puff had
Bad Boy. Well, he started with Uptown, and then he went to Bad Boy.
And then you had like a whole. So he had this whole thing, and then Queen Latifah had like Naughty by Nature, and there's somebody else that she had.
Janae. She had everybody.
Right. So it was sort
Faith,
of like
they managed.
So you had those, and then Chris Lighty had the Violators thing. So you had this whole movement. So I'm talking about the movement. I'm not talking about when they came out. Because Teddy came out, of course, he was been the New Jack Swing. We're talking about 87, right? 87, 88. So yes, he was doing that, but on a producing standpoint, he didn't come and say, all right, this is the family situation.
Okay.
Where, I have all these artists and presented a group of, the one before that might have been Berry Gordy. Probably did that with Motown.
Well, yeah, Motown. Ooh. Yes.
So I'm thinking from Motown, the other person to really do a whole family type thing, more than likely is Bivens. I could be wrong, but
I think that when I think about as far as being like a hybrid executive, being able to go from being the artist to being the producer, from being in front of the board to being behind it, and everything else that Teddy Riley did.
Oh yeah, Teddy, no doubt. I mean, he influenced me too. I mean,
actually, I have a cool story. Actually, when I was back when I was in my group, before we were 3, we were 4, and we'd gotten somebody that our managers knew had found out that like Teddy Riley was performing at the Apollo in Manhattan. So the 4 of us, our management, the 4 of us went and we caught him as he was coming out of the building. This was how they actually caught artists back in the day. You know what I mean? Like we had no social media to go and sing a whole bunch of different videos of ourselves and putting the whole harmony together. So we stood out there and we jumped right into our song. And the thing that I think I remember the most is like we did this. There was this part in the song where. It was like just after like the bridge, and everybody broke off into their own part of the song, and I just saw the look of oh wow, So that pride, I just remember that pride, that proud feeling that we really just impressed him. So we actually worked with him for quite a while. We were down in Virginia on a regular basis. This is with the 2nd of Blackstreet.
Okay. So I feel an interview for Musical coming on there.
Hey, I mean, I'm always game. So listen, one of the things I wanted to talk about, and I feel like there's a lot of people who don't know this information, but artists, I'm reading a quote from your book, artists of today are resorting to using unconventional means to stay in the music business game. Today's artist is a hybrid executive by default. Gone are the days when the artist could just concentrate on writing songs, recording, and performing. And that's beyond an understatement. The artist must now be involved in all areas, or at least understand the relevance of a particular duty and hire someone to fill that role. The artist has graduated from his or her traditional role in the past and must consider themselves an executive in developing and directing their career. So, I did want to say that I wanted to ask, because I think you kind of segued into talking about the 360 deal. Mm-hmm. And, I think that I've talked about it, but very limited. And I think that there are a lot of people that don't really know what a 360 deal is. So I know that there's a lot of musicians who are, wanting that backing, that financial backing from those larger corporations, and are willing to step into these types of deals. Essentially, a 360 deal being 360 degrees, meaning all. But go ahead. Yeah. Can you explain to people what a 360 deal is and what your opinion is? Do you think that that's a good deal, or, overall?
A 360 deal, it depends on if the company is actually willing to put the kind of work in that's required. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times it's the artist that's putting in the work.
Okay.
The artist is writing the song and practicing and touring and, making it happen. Not to take anything away from the executives. The executives did put up some money.
Right.
But traditionally, the executives, their ROI was really
album sales.
The album sales. Mm-hmm. It really came into the sales of the album. Maybe some publishing. So if the artist got a movie role, or if they had merchandise, or if they had a book deal or something, the label didn't really mess too much with that. Mm-hmm. With technology changing and the economy changing, I think the labels didn't really fully take responsibility for a lot of the industry change. Mm-hmm. And what eventually happened is that, in a way, I think the 360 deal kind of penalized the artist some more. That is my opinion. But I remember looking at a Kevin Lyle's, he was talking about the 360 deal. And he was, he so eloquently explained his point, and he says, well, entertainment companies, they come together, they invest some money, and, if they're going to, help the artists get out there, they need to share in the spoils. Mm-hmm. And the fact that their initial investment put the artist in a position to be seen, which is what the labels did all along. It wasn't like something different. Right. So he kind of made it sound like it's this new thing. And so since we're putting up the money and now the artist is being seen.
Yeah, because essentially, isn't that what Motown did?
Right.
I mean, Motown, they had everything. They wrote your music, they got your publishing, they got your royalties, and they owned your likeness, everything.
Yes, they did. So I'm like, okay, so that was where he was coming from. But then he said, well, if they're going to do that, then if other situations are coming out where the artist is getting some sort of a benefit from it, then they should have first dibs on it. So that's kind of like what the 360 deal is. Okay. But I'm like, okay, well, why are you penalizing the artist more? I still think that, you guys could have kept the same model. You didn't have to say, all right, well, we want part of this, and we want part of that, and we want part of the other. And so it's sort of like, okay, well, if you're going to get all of this, I'm thinking that you have to kind of put in the work, too.
Well, I mean, maybe they feel like because they're putting in the money, and essentially it's a loan.
That the artist has to pay back.
Right. Right, but I mean, like that. I feel like maybe the label feels like if I'm gonna be helping, we need to make sure you got on the nice, you got your hair cut. You don't have two nickels to rub together. So we're gonna make sure you get your hair cut. Make sure you got this nice outfit on, so you could do this Facebook Live thing real quick. You know what I mean? So that's money.
Yeah.
And I mean, granted, it's probably at some unnecessarily large percentage in terms of repayment, but that's what it is. You wanted the deal. You wanted to be able to have the access to the money that you need to do whatever it is that you want to do to continue to build your brand. So we want a little percentage in you helping build your brand, because we're helping you financially, because you would be able to do it without our financial backing.
True, but you remember how the mechanics worked. They never lose anything.
Well, of course not.
So if they invested this Sharpie, when you put out your record,
all I have is a pin cap. Right.
Well, not even the cap. You getting this little piece over here.
Oh yes, of course.
And this little piece has to amount to this. Because if this little piece never amounts to this, then you're in the red as the artist. So it never was like, it wasn't like, okay, you know what, we invested this, the project came back like this, so you've recouped and we're good. No, they want your little percentage down here to recoup. This little piece has to recoup the whole thing. So they kept getting all this profit, and they pay you a 90%.
Yeah.
Not 100, because they say, well, we're going to have returns coming in. So they pay you only 90%. So who's really being squeezed here? I'm just saying, so, but they bring the story like if, we need the money. But you guys have the money. You 10, 20, 30 times before the artist could even, remember, you get this little, barely, not even 10%.
Yeah.
You're like, people said we were getting 4 points. And we were excited about the 4 points. And you're like, 4 points?
Yeah.
So what about the other 96 points? Like,
right.
Who's getting that?
Mm-hmm.
But hey,
But there are some big artists, Madonna, Jay-Z, they both have a Live Nation 360 deal. Lady Gaga, J. Cole.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
I think what worked for them too is that.
But I think it's also because they're more established.
They're
so you can have like Jay-Z isn't taking out a loan, with, well, I call it a loan, but Jay-Z signing a deal with Live Nation to have this tour, for them to help sponsor or pay for this tour. It's Jay-Z.
Mm-hmm.
He's had how many platinum albums, multi-platinum albums, how many millions upon billions possibly has he made for these companies. So it's like, he's I liken them all to people. So these new artists getting a 360 deal. This is like you had bad credit, so you getting that 25%. But Jay-Z, who they are sure can make that money, we'll do it, but it's not, I feel like it's not a life-altering thing for him,
No, it's not.
In terms of repayment.
Because artists like Jay, Madonna, who else you mentioned?
Lady Gaga.
Okay, they're coming in with leverage.
Right, that's what credit.
It's like a whole leverage thing. They're like, okay, well, you've sold this amount, you sold that amount. So they could kind of probably do the deal that would be fair. If I spend $1 and I make $3, then we're sharing that profit. But the guy who has no leverage, his little 5% or 3% has to make the $3. And if he doesn't recoup in the first record, they'll cross collateralize it to the other one and say, okay, well, let's pump some more money into this over here. And he might have a big hit, and if that doesn't recoup, then he's in the red.
Right. Credit.
And
it's good credit, bad credit. How well you sold over the last decade is your credit. You know, so, oh yes, Jay-Z needs $3 billion? Sure, let's write him a check, you know, and his repayment is probably, you know, like 3%. Whereas this new artist that has not been established, and what have you sold exactly? You have how many 100 followers on Instagram? Yes, no, 25%. We need 25% recoupment.
So do you agree with that though?
What?
With the
Well,
math.
I mean, I don't know if I don't think that I really care for the idea of a 360 deal. You know, I don't want you in every aspect of what I'm doing.
But okay, so, but I'm just saying because you gave a description of the.
Well, no,
leverage.
I'm just saying, trying to explain that to people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm giving it an analogy. You know, like if you know, trying to understand what we mean by that in terms of recoupment and payment. It really is, you know, largely based on your reputation. If you have, you know,
True.
Again,
but
so for people
really,
who don't really understand, that's why I was trying to, you know, I was liking it to credit. Because I know some of y'all out there are paying way too much for a car because you wanted to drive around that Mercedes, but you got bad credit, so your car note is $600.
So it's messier.
Exactly.
But who, like, for example,